Hey everyone, I've been wanting to make this video for a little bit. Since I made my last Bazaar video, I haven't been enjoying playing the game that much, and I've seen a few things recently that kind of nailed how I was feeling right on the head. So I kind of wanted to go through it and talk about some of the problems I think the Bazaar kind of has, and why I feel like, there's a good game there. I think the Bazaar, it's a good game. It's addicting for sure, but I'm not entirely sure that the game is fun. And we'll go through this Reddit post, maybe a little bit of the Discord, and we'll kind of talk about the problems that the Bazaar has and maybe some sort of solutions that they could come up with to make the game better than it currently is, because right now, I'm gonna be honest, every run sort of just feels like a gamble. You aren't really rewarded for your creativity. Do you know what? All this will be explained. Let's talk about it. So, in this post by SyllabubCute, no idea who they are, they say, I really hope the devs learn something from this portion of the closed beta. And then they say here, this game is not going to be an easy one to balance. This is a massively difficult undertaking, and I really do wish the devs nothing but the best when it comes to this. This patch is a clear example of the issues that come with such an in-depth game such as this. With how the majority of people play games these days, if there is a build or a character that is clearly far and away the best in the game, they will play it. Which I agree 100%. I mean, if you play a game and get crushed by the same character every time, what are you gonna eventually learn? I should just play that character, right? Like, why am I wasting my time here? I'm sure we are all tired of seeing the same 3 pigs past day 9, the exact same 3 builds Pig can have with ease in every run. True based, I mean, I will say there's, sometimes there's a couple other classes sprinkled in there sometimes where you just get insta-nuked and it's super fun, super cool, and you have no idea what you're even walking into. So you can't play around, your opponent killing you in under 3 seconds because you have no idea what they're running. So there's nothing that you can grab on the way to help you play around whatever your opponent is going to have. And it's not even like it's a real person, it's just a ghost of a player. We'll get into that. Anyways, they continue here. This game, if not prepared delicately, will destroy itself with this issue. The entire point is that every run is different, and if you play smart, you can make nearly anything work. So this loops back around to how, you can't really be creative with this game. You have to basically push the best meta builds if you want to be able to enjoy yourself. There's no way to really make bad items good. Usually there's just a straight up skill or something that replaces the item entirely, or it's just not worth picking up in the first place. I like to think of Magic the Gathering, Hearthstone, some sort of deck building game. You can put a deck together and build it around a bad card to make it good and still win games with it. You can still have fun with a deck building game, even if your deck necessarily isn't good. You can have fun. You can have creative fun. Anyways, they continue on here. Since this last patch, you cannot run any fun experimental builds because you will simply lose after day 6. It was never this much of an issue before this patch. We'll see here in this comment, it was never much of an issue. The mistake here is thinking the patch is a problem. Yeah, this was always a problem since the game launched. I've always had issues just trying to have fun and do something creative. Usually you just get rolled at a certain point and then it's like, oh, well, I shouldn't have done anything fun and just done what was the strongest possible thing. I think I'm doing something cool and having fun experimenting. Yes, I love that feeling. You're enjoying, you're cooking up, you're like, oh my god, this is gonna be so awesome. And then you die to 4 pigs in a row with either a diamond croak, wriggle blade, whatever. So, eventually you'll just hit a point where you just hit the same build back to back to back to back to back, get perfectly countered, boom, your fun is ruined. No more. Your cool run that was, maybe 1 in 20 runs are like that, poof, it loses because you didn't go with the strongest build that was able to play around that, and you didn't even know that those opponents had that in the first place. Anyways, they say here, my experimentation is rewarded with being shown why you should never experiment and just play pig if you want any run to make it past 5 wins, which... I mean, I agree. Pig is the most consistent character. I will say personally, I wrote a bug report on day 1 that said, I think Pig is too overpowered. He is just too consistent. And it's still an issue, and the game has been out for weeks now. And, I'm not the only person who's been saying that. This is obviously a common issue. Anyways, and then this Zanzibar person comments here. The mistake here is thinking the patch is the problem. People did the exact same thing with Skyscraper before any patches came. The difference is that Skyscraper was a late game build on shops and items that flat out couldn't spawn early. So Skyscraper was an item that could basically charge in like 3 seconds and just instant kill you for like 30,000 damage. It was pretty silly, and it was also bugged, and the devs did nothing to fix it as fast as possible. They took like a week or something. I also have a slight issue with how often they update the game. I think it is mentioned in this comment. The devs sold it as you can't force things, every run is different, but that's nonsense. That can never be true in the current system without massive overhauls. It's just not how the game functions, and it's not what the player's incentivized to do. You don't walk into Pig's tool shop and see unlimited variety. You see the same thing almost every time. I think this is based, this is true. Now what they're basically saying here is, yo-yo is really good and it fits in anything. So it's like, obviously every single time you see yo-yo, you click yo-yo. There's not much strategy or thought behind that. It's just a really good item. And then they go off about the bird here or something. I'm not exactly sure what they're saying. I think they're just saying that, the properties essentially synergize with the bird at a certain point and it just becomes broken, which I understand. You cannot have rewards as awful as this game does for any result lower than max wins and then be shocked when people min-max. This is true. If you get below 10 wins, you feel pretty bad. You feel like you didn't get the reward. You get some kind of pity reward. You get like 2 chests if you get like 7 wins. It's barely enough to like play another ranked. Sometimes you get more than enough, sometimes you don't get enough, and I think the average is probably around 40 gems a chest. So if you don't average 3 wins per game, you're eventually gonna lose all your gems. And that's kind of the point, because that's their monetization system is, you have to buy gems to play ranked. And I especially have a problem with this and the fact that they have not disclosed at all how the matchmaking works. Exactly. I feel like they need to, if there's any sort of money being made off of, people buying the gems to play ranked, because then there is financial incentive to actually rig matchmaking to make you average less than 10 wins about 60% of the time or whatever, 70% or whatever they want it to be. Really, that's how they keep the cash flow coming, is by skewing the win rates of people. It can feel like your runs are kind of rigged sometimes too. I'm not gonna lie, it just feels like back to back to back you get screwed, and it's like, really, there's no one who just like scrape by with a mid build. It's all these gods at the game that perfectly counter mine. That seems a little odd. And then the next run you'll have some kind of god tier run, go 10 wins, next run rolled, next run rolled, next run god tier, easy, no thought required. And it's kind of weird. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Let me know. You get nothing in casual and literally lose gems on average and ranked. Yeah, I said that. Players cannot afford to experiment and just play for fun because the system punishes you for it harshly. This is true. You can play normal mode, which is, it gives you some bots and it's a little bit easier, but even then it's like by day 7 it's like you get cut off, or you got to start pushing for like max power. You can't do anything creative and get 10 wins usually. It's really hard unless you get the perfect synergies, and it just doesn't feel good. It feels lame. The core gameplay loop here is neat, but the pseudo PvP element is a downside in many ways. This is because everyone you fight is a ghost. It's not even an actual person. Not always an upside. It's not fun to beat someone with a briefcase and a fresh succulent on board day 1 because they're playing the slow econ game. It's not fun to lose an extremely strong run to an even better high roll where they're lucked into the free revive skill from the pirate bird, or just anything else that's just absolutely ridiculous, like a bunch of freeze skills or something. Yeah, you can just have a run where you're like, woo, I'm doing so good, there's no way I lose, and then you just get absolutely just giga countered, and it's like, what was I even supposed to do, dude? To me, the game a lot of the time feels like you just put money into a slot machine, saw it spin, and you got nothing. That's how the game feels. Or maybe you saw it spin, but you put $1 in and it paid out with 66 cents. That's how I feel with the game. It doesn't feel rewarding at all. It feels like you're getting a diminishing return every time you pull that slot. There's no feeling of, haha, that was a close match, good game, other player, because there is no other player. It's ghost data, and they aren't even told about it, and I hope they never make a friend system like Hearthstone, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so yeah, I think the Bazaar definitely has some issues. So yeah, there was all that. And I also agreed with this guy on the Bazaar Discord. This is where I actually found that Reddit post. This is in the feedback and discussion section, and it is called Matchmaking is Destroying the Variety, Experimentation, and Fun of the Game. And it says, we want more freedom to experiment. It obviously isn't fine, as many people agree with the sentiment of this thread. It's the most upvoted feedback thread I can find, the second most being a request for changes to freeze because it feels like an oppressive mechanic. And I'll be honest, I made that post about freeze. I think freeze can go suck a dick. It's a bad, not fun mechanic. This is a game about watching your, automatic build perform, and what freeze does is completely negate that. You can't watch it do anything. And is there a counter to freeze? Barely. They added a couple skills, but cool, you barely see them, and when you do, you can't afford them, so get fucked. What does it matter? I even left a reply on this post that right now would have a few things to say about freeze mage back in the old Hearthstone days, so I'm surprised freeze is a mechanic at all. I played handlock because it was fun and strategic and allowed for flavorful, expressive plays. There's no fun in just freezing your opponent out so they can't play the game. Even in Magic the Gathering, once you've played the game enough, you get to a point where it's not fun to just lock out your opponent. It's way more fun to go back and forward and have people play their cards and have a balanced playing field than it is to just roll everyone at the table. And the game would just be a lot more fun if it was more of a back and forward than you can't use anything, I win. Cool, alright, let me put another $1 in the fucking slot machine and get 66 more cents. Think of a game like Hearthstone, where you jump in as a new player, put together a deck, and you, with the same basic knowledge of card games, have a decent chance of winning each game, which takes much less time to do. Mind, the game takes forever to play. It takes 45 minutes to find out you just got rolled with the Bazaar. It fucking sucks, and there's no way to speed up the battles that take too long, and you know how it's gonna turn out. You're both sitting there with heal builds, and it's okay, whoever has the most health at the end wins, or whoever's healing faster. You just end up sitting there for a minute, stroking your dick, wishing you're playing literally any other fucking game. Maybe you are playing another game on your other monitor, and then that's a whole game design philosophy problem in the first place, dude. You're making a game where people are gonna be sitting there wishing they weren't playing your game. That's a design problem. And he said, I've got about 30 hours of gameplay at this point. Brother, I think I've got more. I've watched probably 10 plus more on YouTube. Me too. Including of some of the best players out there. I get that. I have a history of ranking in the top few percent in similar games. Hey man, I've gotten Legend in Hearthstone. I got Mythic in Magic the Gathering Arena with my own deck, mind you, my own creativity and brain. I expressed myself and got rewarded. Crazy. There's something seriously wrong, and many players are aware of it. It is a brutal state of affairs currently, and we will see many players start to leave the game if changes aren't made. I think we're starting to see that now. I think this is the burnout point, and I think people are starting to get tired of the game. Reynad explicitly said he doesn't want there to be a meta at all, so experimentation is a deeply important design value. I want to see that to come to fruition. It's needed. Me too, brother. I couldn't have said it better. I would also like to add, look at Brighter Shores, dude. That game has received more updates than the Bazaar, and it has been out for less amount of time. Now granted, it is an MMO and live updates are maybe a little more expected, but hey man, it's also an early access, also, you know, a demo or a beta or whatever. So there's really no excuse for why we can't get live service sort of updates for big bugs that are kind of causing everyone a headache. Like, did you know for the for a whole week, everyone had to deal with pre-scaled builds on the ladder and just would lose because people's items were just way stronger than they were supposed to be. Like, what are we even supposed to do about a 30,000 damage item that slaps us in 4 seconds, you know? It's impossible to play around, and it was a bug, and they took a week to fix it. And there's so many issues that they just don't fix, and then they release a patch. You know, so far, like, there's been 2 patches, about 1 every week, and then they release a big patch that just breaks a bunch more shit. And then, you know, they're gonna release their next patch, and it's gonna break a bunch more shit. I think they might have a bit more of an easier time if they, like, slowly rolled out bug fixes and stuff, you know, new features and that. Sure, keep that to, like, once a week while, like, things settle, but, like, bug fixes for items and shit that are already in the game, like patches to like make things more balanced, that shit should be like priority uno and be like fixed immediately, and like next day, boom, game is patched. But the once a week updates just aren't enough, and I'm pretty sure Brighter Shores only has like 1 dude working on the updates. I think there might actually be like a team, so don't get me wrong there, but there's a team working on the Bazaar, and it's getting less work done on it. The updates for it have been like pretty substantial, but honestly, it all could have been rolled out throughout the week and would have been pretty nice because, hey man, a lot of us didn't want to be dealing with the issues that were going on in the game for that full week, and it would have been really cool if the devs made it a priority to release it as soon as possible because they care about the you know, mental state of their gamers and their enjoyment with the game. I just feel passionate about this. I think the Bazaar really needs some changes. It's a cool game. It's got some potential. I want it to be good. That's why I feel so passionate about this. But I fear it's not gonna be good. I fear it's just not fun. And I uninstalled it and I reinstalled it, and I just got reminded why I uninstalled the game already, and it's been out for 2 weeks. I get it's in beta, but like, all right, I'm gonna just uninstall the game until there's another update. And then I'll try it again, and I'm sure I'm just gonna find out the same damn thing. So they really gotta fix whatever the problem here is. They gotta add more foresight so you can see what your opponent's build is before you like go into it and all that. All right, hold on. We got some replies. People are preaching me. Let's go. This, like, people literally just replied this. It is 6:55 in the morning right now. These were but moments ago. So, you know, I just went off here. This person said, I feel this very hard, coming from an extremely similar background. I've had Rule 0 everyone playing 1010 commander pods that are less irritating than the overall consistency and downright close to improbably levels of facing the same 4 or 5 broken builds every day. This is what I'm talking about. When land draw in Magic the Gathering is more fucking tolerable than getting rolled by a fucking Atroxa, like, you have a problem with your game, man. Like, that shit causes... That makes me want to pull a gun out at the table, and this shit is worse. And then we even have the original poster here, man. He's like, Addle Addle Crook Yo-Yo Pig at 0 prestige and 4 wins. I realize my build isn't great, as always, deliberately avoiding meta builds, as this isn't a great role either. But just to illustrate the matchmaking, I'm gonna stop playing the game now until changes are made. Not having any fun. And he says, I think freeze is a fine mechanic to have, but the poison is in the dosage. Builds that can totally shut you down need to be cut, especially the fast ones. And you know, I think that's totally fine. That's mostly my problem. Permafreeze is gross. Just make a mechanic where, like, I don't know, burn items, because fire can't be frozen. And when a burn item triggers, it unfreezes the items next to it. Sure, they can be frozen again, but hey, burn item can go off again. And boom, you fix the issue a little bit. Maybe it'll make it feel a little better. Who knows? Maybe it'll make freeze basically pointless. I don't know. I don't make the game. The game's in beta though, and this is the time to experiment. So why aren't they experimenting a little bit? I don't know, man. I'm going crazy. I hope you enjoyed this, like, I don't know how long this video will be, probably like a 20-minute rant. I hope everyone in the Discord here who's ended up in the video is okay with that. I'm feeling burnt out on the Bazaar, man, and I feel sad. I I wanted to enjoy the game. I spent $30 to be disappointed thus far. I'm not gonna lie. I expected more out of the beta experience, I think, and the level of care I was led to believe was being put into this game, I guess. It feels like it's sort of just it feels like almost corporate already. Like it feels like I'm trying to get get in touch with the goddamn Blizzard devs or something to fix something in Hearthstone, or like, dude, this is like trying to get Jagex to fix something in goddamn RuneScape. This is exactly what it is. I'm okay, I gotta go because that's just too much. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please subscribe, and like and do all that stuff. I'm out of here. I'm sad.